So there's one more story I want to add here that I'm enamored by. So we mentioned once before that Christian Gillibrand came out with basically an amendment associated with the National Defense Authorization Act to dramatically expand the information that is given to the public, that's given to Congress, and the research mechanisms that are at the disposal of the government to study UFOs, UAPs, whatever you want to call it, basically the phenomena. So the Pentagon, trying to get ahead of this, basically put out their own program. This was called, it was a group, not even necessarily a program, that they want to basically replace the UAP task force. And again, I made the point before that the only reason they're putting this out is to preempt the Senate's or the Congress's taking over of this issue. They basically want to keep this stuff in the shadows, or for that matter, give the narrative to the public that is in their best interests. These are the people who basically ran the PSYOP for the last 80 years, but now they want you to trust them. They came out with Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. And this will be under the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security. This is not an operational group. This is just an oversight group. And again, all of the protections and everything else that Gillibrand, Rubio, and many of the others put into that amendment are basically not here. You'll still be at the whims of the Pentagon. I am not the only one who's noticed this, especially not the only one in Congress. Representative Timothy Floyd Burchett, Republican from the 2nd District in Tennessee, had some choice words about this particular plan, making the point of saying this sounds like a cover-up. Let's play the clip.
Congressman, I know they just had some dealings with the about the UFOs situation where I think Pentagon is going to be taking over.
Yeah.
I'm confused with it, man. Help me here.
You're not the only one. The Pentagon, of course, is valiantly decided they're going to take over all the research on the UFO phenomena, but it's totally bogus. I mean, they're just going to require more money from us, and they're going to keep it quiet. I don't trust the Pentagon. I never have. They are secrets upon secrets, and that's how they operate. And we're foolish if we give them any more money to do this kind of thing. It needs to be independent. There needs to be congressional oversight, and the public needs to see it.
Right.
It doesn't need to be any double secret meetings.
Right. I thought we was finally getting to a point where the public was going to
I think they yanked the rug out. They don't think they're prepared. They pulled the rug out from under us. I think the military-industrial complex and the rest of those clowns, they fully know what they're doing, and they're going to keep it secret from us.
Just one last thing. Why is it like they don't want the what is it they don't want the public to know?
That's a good question. I've got a theory about that. I think it's about control. They think once that they lose control of the issue, that could you imagine if this world was focused on one issue, looking at something like that, we could all come together on something? I think that would just disrupt the whole military-industrial complex, the religious-industrial complex, on down the line. It would just disrupt that whole chain. And they don't want it. They don't want it. They want control. They want secrets. They want it compartmentalized. I mean, they won't even release it. The Kennedy files.
Right there. Yeah, let's stop right there. After that? That's phenomenal. And yes, absolutely right. Perfectly right. I mean, he makes that point of saying, yeah, I don't trust the Pentagon, and then goes so far as to say clowns, and say they valiantly decided to step in. He continued with this, by the way, when he's on the floor in Congress making the following speech. Let's play a clip.
Last summer's UFO report, Mr. Speaker, from the Director of National Intelligence was bogus. The report raised more questions than answers about unidentified objects in the skies. It stunk of a government cover-up, Mr. Speaker. Now the Pentagon is starting a new office to collect information on these unidentified objects. The office is called the Airborne Object Identification and Management Synchronization Group. I don't know where they came up with that name. I'm sure they paid somebody a lot of money to come up with that. I do not trust this new office, Mr. Speaker. I don't think it'll be transparent with lawmakers or the public about its findings. This is a national security issue. Congress needs to know what is going on so we can respond accordingly. Today, I'm requesting the leaders of this new office bring members of Congress on their bring them in on their UFO findings. This is a matter of great public interest and has been for a very long time to a lot of Americans. Our government should not hide the truth from us for another second. If this new office is to be held accountable, our country will get more reports like the one that came out last summer, or worse, they will be silent and hope we all just forget about the phenomena. We do not need to fear these airborne and unidentified objects. They would have shown themselves to be dangerous a long time ago by now if they were a threat. Our citizens and country can handle the truth, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the remainder of my time.
That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal statement. I mean, he's saying a few big things here. He was like, we can handle the truth. And once before, he made the point of saying, this is not the Russians, this is not the Chinese. He was very clear. And to make the point of saying, look, we don't need to fear them. It would have been an issue a long time ago if this situation was a threat. Shane, what do you think about that? I don't know anything else about Tim Burchett. So let me put that there first. For all I know, Tim Burchett could have, something dead in his trunk, as far as I know.
Literally, who is he?
He's a representative from Tennessee, 2nd District. He's a congressman. He's a representative, congressman from Tennessee. He's been there since 2019.
I don't know what I think about it. It's all weird, man. I don't know what to make of any of it. What do you think about it?
I just I just love the fact that he's willing to call that out and be like, why is the Pentagon doing this? I mean, and they come to basically the same conclusion that I did. It's like they're trying to preempt Congress from getting more oversight on the issue. Like, take out whatever you think the issue is for the moment. Just put that to the side. Meaning, it doesn't take out the exotic aspect of the issue, and just think from the standpoint of something is invading our skies that we don't know what it is. Just keep it at that. Whether it's us or not us, irrelevant to the point. His basic point is, I don't trust the Pentagon to be honest about this issue because they've never been honest about the issue. And it seems as if they're basically trying to usurp Congress's attempt to basically get more information, more clarity, and more transparency on the issue and give that information out to the American public. He thinks it's a cover-up, and I think he's right. I think he might
be, but my mind goes back to what came up when we first talked about it. I think it was this past weekend before we had Tom Whitmore, of course, on Monday. And if folks are curious about the conversation, they can go back and check that out. That was at 9:15, I believe it was.
Yeah, it was
on Monday. Good conversation. But what I brought up was, okay, but this is going to be an interdepartmental thing. It's not just going to be the Pentagon ultimately doing this, right? In other words, Pentagon might try to get out ahead of it, but is it going to stop there? Unless it gets quashed, unless in Congress too, unless there are words on the back end or something like that, and Congress stops pursuing it. I don't see it stopping that easily because, frankly, it's exactly what you just said, and the fact that he said it. Burchett said it makes it all the stronger a point or whatever. Yeah, people don't trust the Pentagon. The Pentagon's exactly the agency responsible for covering the stuff up over the years. I get the idea of military secrets, et cetera, et cetera. But point is, people, including politicians, and so I see other departments setting up their own agencies, which means the Pentagon can't get out ahead of it. They'll try to act as the disseminator of information because, after all, they're taking up the reports as a sort of first line of contact, right?
Yeah, exactly.
With these air and naval movements. Most of where they've been seeing the UAPs. So they would sort of be in charge of doling out who gets access to what. And I guess Congress is going to want to get deeper access. If Congress is trying to do a good job at this, then you'd want, and this becomes a weird thing to deal with, almost like a Scott Ritter conversation, although I don't think he could hit this one, but who knows. Like the interdepartmental sort of liaison kind of thing with sharing information on confidential air and naval movements when you want to share information about some trippy thing you just saw to this newly created governmental agency responsible for investigating them. You see what I'm saying? There's this thing there.
Because it's like you want to keep your materials and the way that you go about acquiring that information secret. And on some level, if you display some information, you're basically giving up the way that you came across the information. I feel you on that. I get this feeling that you may be right, that there's nothing, the Pentagon, it may be too late for them to get ahead of this. Now, I don't want to say that too strongly because, who knows? Depending upon if Congress decides, okay, we're just going to trust the Pentagon on this issue, then I think this issue could be silenced. But they don't trust them at this point. I agree with you. It looks like they're looking at this saying, what on earth is the Pentagon? We're about to pass the NDAA, like within a week or so, we're about to pass the NDAA. And then all of a sudden, at the last minute, at the 11:59 and 58 seconds, they decide, okay, you can trust us now. Yeah, I love his reaction to that. He's like, yeah, I don't buy that. And then, even the flippant way he's talking about the valiantly coming in and decided to give information on this subject. I love the way he made that point. And yeah, I agree with you. It gives me a little bit of umph in thinking that, okay, maybe these guys do see it for what it is, that the Pentagon is not to be trusted on this issue any more than they could have been trusted for the last 80 years or so. So, yeah, I love the clip, hence playing the clip. But let's do this. Let's take a break.